What's going on, guys? It's HawkWX, and today I'm going to be showing you guys my preseason 2025 NA RLCS power rankings. If you enjoyed today's video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. Thanks, guys. Now let's get into the video. Also, before we get into the power rankings, I just wanted to say Happy New Year, guys. I hope that you had a great 2024, and thank you to everybody who supported me all throughout 2024. It was a great year, and 2025 is going to be even better. And also, going along with 2024 passing and going into the new year, this is a little bit off topic, and I'll get into the power rankings here in a second. But I've been seeing a lot on social media about how 2024 and honestly just the past several years, how they haven't been like the greatest years, you know, and they get a lot of attention on social media. A lot of people talk about it. And I just wanted to say, don't let the negative things absorb you guys. And I know that this might seem off topic, but it just seems like a lot of people really let the negative things just take hold of them and just look back on a year, really. And they're like, oh, this happened, and this happened. They were all bad. These three things happened that were bad. My whole year was bad. No. There was hundreds of things that were good throughout the whole entire year. Just know that no matter if you acknowledge them or not, there was more good than bad this year, and there's always more good than bad, no matter what. It seems like it's really easy for people to grasp onto those bad things, and I really wish that wasn't the way it was. And I've been seeing that on social media lately a lot. Just people complaining about, you know, every year already complaining about 2025, and whether it's supposed to be a joke or not, don't fall into that. It's just really easy to let the little bumps in the road try to shake you off course, but don't let them. Good always wins. 2025 is your year. All right, guys, it's officially time to get into my power rankings. And at number 16, I have Tortuga. This is Cam, Flitz, and G-Man. I think this is actually a very solid team on paper. I think Cam is underrated. I think Flitz is good. And I think that G-Man is solid. I don't really see them outdoing number 16, but we'll see. I think this team is underestimated. Should make every regional. Can potentially upset good teams if they play well. It is hard for me to see them outdo 12th to 16th. My season projection for this team is 12th to 16th, and I give them a 0% chance of making a major. Basically, guys, if this team sticks together, by the end of the season, I would see them being somewhere around probably 16 in NA. And I do think they should make every regional. That's another big thing, guys. A lot of these teams might not even be together anymore by the end of the first split, but I still decided to put my season projection for all of them just if they were to stick together for the whole season. This is where I would see every team finishing in NA. So for Tortuga, Cam, Flitz, and G-Man, I have them at number 16. All right, guys, now moving on to number 15, we have the EU imports, and you can see their little logo up here in the top right corner. This is actually a real picture of Ixo, Cymas, or Cmas, whatever his name is, and Crispy crossing the Atlantic Ocean to make it over here to NA. So they are the EU imports, that's what I'm calling them. Number 15, they don't have a team name, but they are expected to play together for RLCS this season. And my main reasoning for them being number 15, they are all very solid. Ixo will be good. Cmas and Crispy will determine the success of this team. They have a legitimate chance to make a couple top 8s, but I do not see them making a top 4 and have no idea how they will play together. They could definitely surprise me and be somewhere in the top 12 of NA teams, I think. I just feel like that is unlikely. My season projection for this team is 12th to 16th, and I give them a 0% chance of making a major. So the main reason I have them at number 15, and the thing that I really struggled to kind of determine in my head, was how they're going to play together, because Ixo is a proven player. We know he's going to be good. It's going to really depend, like I said, on how Cmas and Crispy play, and we just have no idea. We haven't seen them play together yet. I would not be surprised if this team squeezed into a top 8 at some point, just like one time or maybe even 2 times. It'll depend, because they are EU imports. EU imports have a pretty good history in NA, but I don't see them outdoing any of the teams that I have ahead of them, really. It'll depend on how they put it together in season. All right, guys, now coming in at number 14, I have Wub Tub Pub. This is Wanda, Mike, Toasty, and Panda, and my main reasoning for this, I think this team can make a couple of top 8s potentially. All 3 players are good. Panda is an up-and-coming player if I remember right. I do not see them consistently beating any of the teams in front of them, but they definitely can still upset teams in front of them. My season projection is 12th to 16th, and I give them a 0% chance of making a major. About Panda, I could be wrong. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe he played on Young Whippersnappers last season with Skippy, and he might have even been signed to an org at some point. And he was pretty solid. He was mechanical. So if he's improved and he's alongside Toasty and Wanda Mike, this team could actually be slightly dangerous. But yeah, I gave him a 0% chance of making a major. I know that might seem harsh, guys, that I'm giving some of these teams a 0% chance of making a major, but I also gotta be real. Like, I just don't, like, there's just so many. NA is honestly pretty dang stacked this season, and I just don't see a world where any of these teams that I'm giving a 0% chance of making a major have any chance of making a major. So that's why they got 0% chance of making a major. But anyway, next up, I have at number 13, CFH. No idea what their team name will actually be, but it's Creams, 5-Up, and Hockey. Last season's TSM minus Wavy. 5-Up is very good. I believe it was a great pickup for them. I think all of these players are very good. I just do not know what their playstyle will be and how chemistry will be. If they cannot generate good offense, they will struggle, which is my concern. Making a few top 8s is possible. I do not see any top 4s. My season projection for this team is 9th to 13th, and I give them a 0% chance of making a major. So I think this number 13 or so is where we start to get into teams that are actually going to be able to beat pretty good teams and play upset to a lot of good teams, I think. And as you can see, I said making a few top 8s is possible. I do see a world where they can make top 8 or even a couple of them, but I don't see any top 4s like I said. And I also, that 0% of making a major that I put down there, I stand by that. I don't see any world where this team makes a major. But Cream's 5UP and Hockey all did make a top 4 at one point in NA last season. 5UP did when he was with Moist, and Creams and Hockey did with TSM. So who knows? Genuinely, who knows? But that's the thing is, NA is just, I think there's just so many good teams ahead of them that it's going to be really hard for them to push ahead of this 13 spot. All right, guys, now coming up at number 12, I have probably my favorite team in this whole entire video and on this whole entire list, and that is Gas. It's Garrett, AJ, and Squishy. I'm actually really excited to watch this team play. They are the three-headed GOAT. They might actually have a chance at making a top 4. AJ is arguably a top 10 player in NA still. Garrett and Squishy are still very good. Garrett just beat NRG with JNaps and Eris in the RLCS offseason open. What is this team ceiling? No idea where to put this team. They can upset literally anybody in front of them, but will they is the question. My season projection is 7th to 12th, and I give them a less than 1% chance of making a major. I'm not ruling it out. From here on out on this list, I'm not ruling out any more teams from making a major. I know it might seem kind of insane for me to put Garrett, AJ, and Squishy ahead of 5UP, but you gotta remember, AJ was on M80 last season who was doing good. Garrett was on NRG who honestly wasn't doing too badly last season. They were still in the middle of the pack somewhere in NA, and Garrett did just beat NRG, the G2, the old G2 on NRG now with JNaps and Eris. So Garrett still has it, obviously. And then Squishy claims to be the best he's ever been. So I really do think that this team can be dangerous. Now, do I really think they'll make a major? I would not bet on it. I wouldn't bet on it on any world. I wouldn't. But am I saying that they could make a top 4 and that they might just be able to somehow make a major? The chance is there. I do think it's there, but will it happen? Probably not. That is why I gave them a less than 1% chance of making a major. But if they make like every top 8, I wouldn't be surprised. If they make multiple top 8s, I definitely won't be surprised. And if they make a top 4, I really don't think it would be that insane. But I don't think it's very likely that they'll make a top 4. There's just a lot of good teams, man. All right, next up at number 11, I have Omelet, and this is Lion Blaze, Percy, and Zanil. My main reasoning, they were very solid last season, might make every top 8. Cannot see them making a major, but can see them make a surprising top 4 run. If they can find a more potent style on offense, they may be dangerous. Seem to rely solely on defense and counterattacks last season. My season projection for them is 7th to 11th, and I give them a less than 1% chance of making a major. This is a team that I do think could make top 4. I think that they're going to kind of be like the top 8 gatekeeper. I can see them making every top 8. It's going to be hard because there are a lot of really good teams, and we're just going to have to see how every team is. But I think that Omelet has a very consistent play style. Their offense just wasn't that good last season. Their defense was really what carried them, it seemed like, and they would just get, like I said, they would get their counterattacks and then they would win games, which, I mean, it works, but you're not really going to get above top 8 in NA without doing something better on offense. And for that, I don't really see them doing much better than top 8. Next up at number 10, I have Deleted Gaming. This is Andy, Gyro, and Wavy, and I think this team is actually pretty dang underrated. My main reasoning, they have a lot of potential, might make a top 4, making a major seems unlikely. Wavy is one of the most underrated players in NA. This team will likely upset good teams and will not often lose to anyone behind them. May consistently make top 8. The potential is there. It will depend on consistency. My season projection for them, as you can see, is 5th to 10th, but I have it as very unlikely to make major. So you guys just heard me say 5th to 10th for this team potentially in NA, and I do believe that. I think that they can get up to like 5th place in NA. I just think it's unlikely. I think that 10th place is probably more realistic for them, maybe 9th, something like that. Though they looked really, really good in the RLCS offseason open in NA. There were some teams not playing in it that were also really good that are still ahead on this list. But I do think the Deleted has potential to get higher than top 10 in NA. Just probably not top 4 at any point. But if they made a top 4, it really wouldn't shock me. I just don't think they're going to make majors. Also, guys, from here on out, don't take my season projections too seriously. Pay more attention to where I have them actually ranked. Like right now, Deleted, I have them at 10th, but I have them season projection as 5th to 10th. Because I think that they can make it anywhere in that range, but I see them finishing probably 10th in NA. And from here on out, the range is a lot crazier that I have for the season projection. So definitely take my actual ranking on top, like the 10th for Deleted Gaming, more seriously than the 5th to 10th. Don't think that I'm saying, oh, Deleted is a lock to finish like top 5 in NA or to finish 5th in NA. Just take my power ranking that I have every team at more seriously from here on out. All right, guys, next up, we have another team that I'm excited for at number 9. This is maybe Pioneers. Nobody knows. They're not signed yet, but there's been talks that they're going to be signed by Pioneers. This is Eris, Aqua, and JNaps. My main reasoning, I believe that this roster can totally shock NA and the world. JNaps will consistently do his thing, we know that. Eris has tons of potential, and Aqua is one of the most mechanical players in NA. If this team has good chemistry and a consistent playstyle, they can make majors. Probably the biggest sleeper team here. My season projection is 4th to 9th, potential to make majors. So the reason I was talking about not taking my season projection as seriously from here on out is because, as you can see, 4th to 9th, That's a pretty big range. That's the difference between making majors and not even finishing in the top 8 of NA. But that's also because the rest of these teams on this list all really do have major potential, and they're all extremely good teams, on paper at least. It's just really going to depend on if they put it together or not. And I think that the teams in front of them on this list have a higher chance of putting it together than they do. But I think that this team right here might have more potential than several of the teams in front of them really left on this list, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out in the actual season. But I think this team's ceiling, man, it's definitely, I think they can make majors. I think the potential to make majors is there. And that brings me to number 8 on this list. It's CHK. It is Chicago, Hoxer, and Kofor. That is not actually their team name. They don't have an org or a team name yet. I'm guessing they'll probably get an org, honestly. I think you're gonna see pretty good results from them throughout the year. But anyway, my main reasoning. I have never seen this team play yet, but based on talent on this roster, they can make majors. Chicago and Hoxer will consistently do their part. Success will depend on Kofor. Kofor is very talented, sort of like the SSG players. If he plays well, this team will be able to potentially beat anyone in front of them. My season projection for them is 4th to 8th, potential to make majors. So there you have another big range, 4th to 8th. That's the difference between making majors and just finishing top 8 in NA, which neither of those is bad, but I just don't know how this team's gonna put it together. That's the main thing. Chicago and Hoxer, I can guarantee you they're gonna play well every single time. They're gonna do well every single time. It just depends on what we get from Kofor. If Kofor can play at a high level and consistently make the right decisions, I do think that this team definitely can make majors. So mainly due to a lot of uncertainty on this team, I have them at number 8, but I definitely can see them outdoing that pretty easily. Next up at number 7, I have Shopify Rebellion. This might surprise some of you guys. This is Justin Parth and 2Piece. Last season, I actually had Shopify projected to be like a top 3 team in NA. I had a lot of high hope for them, but let's just read the main reasoning. I just think they have too much inconsistency. But anyway, this team confuses me. They have insane potential, a potent offense, and noticeable inconsistency. If they play to their ceiling, they can make majors and do well at them. They missed a regional last season, but almost made the second major. If they find a consistent playstyle, they will be dangerous. If not, it will not be a good season for them. Season projection 4th to 8th, potential to make majors. As you can see, my season projection for Shopify is pretty spread out too. It's 4th to 8th. Because I just don't know what I'm going to see from this team this season. We have no idea. Shopify sometimes plays at a really high level where they literally can easily be a major team, where they can easily make top 4. And then they also have their times where they play and then they lose to Alpha Cap like they did in the RLCS offseason open. I'm not saying that Alpha Cap's team's not solid, but like if you're going to be Shopify Rebellion and you want to make majors and you have the players you have on paper, that loss should never happen. It just should simply never happen. And it's just concerning to me. I feel like we've seen plenty of times where Shopify has been inconsistent. I feel like there's more times actually where Shopify is playing inconsistent than they are when they're playing like well and at a high level throughout a whole tournament, where they aren't like one game they're really good, the next they're like, what is this team doing? I don't know. There's just too much inconsistency for me, and that has them being punished on my list. They're getting put at number 7. I will not be surprised if this team finishes like top 5, top 6, top 4 in A even, but it's just the inconsistency, man. I just can't bet on it. If they put it together though, this is a major team. Next up at number 6, guys, I have a team that might surprise you, and this is Tech. This is Calm, Evo, and Talk. And I kind of think that like Shopify and Tech can swap back and forth, because it's going to depend on consistency with both of these teams. But I don't think you guys quite understand how good Calm, Evo, and Talk could be theoretically on paper if all of them play at a high level and they play together. My main reasoning, Calm remains as one of NA's most underrated players. This team has insane potential. Talk will only get better as the season goes on. Evo can be one of the best in NA. If Evo consistently plays near his ceiling, this team will not only be a potential danger to NA, but also internationally. Season projection 4th to 8th, potential to make majors. I have this team at number 6 ahead of Shopify because I think they might honestly have a higher ceiling than Shopify. I know that might sound crazy, but I think that if Evo and Talk figure it out and Calm just does his part and does his thing that he usually does, I can see this team making majors, and I can see them outdoing Shopify, and I can see them consistently playing better than someone like Shopify. We'll have to see. This is a complete guessing game with this team. I really don't know what we're going to see. It's really going to depend on Evo and Talk, but I think that this team on paper can be very, very good. Now, moving on to the top 5, I have teams that really don't need that much explaining. I think they're all pretty self-explanatory and make sense. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. But number 5, I have Genji. This is Cheese, Magic Bear, and Reddles. My main reasoning, they made land last season. They have a consistent playstyle that will beat many good teams. They seem hungry to be the best. All 3 players are very good. Magic Bear may be one of the most underrated players in NA. If all 3 players play close to their ceiling consistently, they will make majors. Season projection 4th to 8th, potential to make majors. So basically, guys, as you can see, this is the first team that I said if all 3 play close to their ceiling, they will make majors. I think that's not even a question. I think that if Cheese, Magic Bear, and Reddles, they're sticking together, they're constantly improving. You can see that in their gameplay. I think that they will make majors. I think they'd be a top 4 team. I think they'd take a spot from that open 3rd and 4th spot. I don't think the top 2 teams are going to be open in NA this season, but I think that the top 3 in the top 4 spot will be open this season. And I think that Gen G can easily take one of those spots if they play to their ceiling, or if they play close to their ceiling throughout the season. And I think it's almost guaranteed that you're going to get a consistent play style out of them. You know what you're going to get from them like every single time that they play. Consistency is a huge thing. That's actually one of the reasons I have them at number 5, because I straight up think they're just going to be more consistent than the teams that they're ahead of. And I think that's going to beat a lot of the teams that they're ahead of because of that. Just their consistency will catch teams that are inconsistent off guard. And even regardless of that, Gen G, when they're playing well, if they're playing against other teams that are also good, that are playing well, they can still beat them. Gen G is not a team to be taken lightly. I just don't see a world where this team finishes below top 8 NA. I don't even think it's possible, just because they're so consistent. Now, next up, this is one that you guys might actually be able to question. I really had no idea where to put this team, but just going off of raw talent, I think they have to be here, and it's number 4, SSG, Frosty, Reveal, and Scribbles. We saw them make a top 4 once last season, and I think that they're going to be able to put it together this season. But anyway, let's look at the main reasoning. This trio is extremely mechanical and made a top 4 last season. I believe that they likely will be much better with decision making this season, especially after consistently scrimming top teams for a year or so now. They looked good in the off-season open as well. I believe they made the grand final in that. I watched that tournament. I can't remember exactly though. I think it was the grand final. They played Complexity. They actually were doing really well, and then they ended up losing. I could be thinking about something else though. That might have been the 2v2 tournament. I can't keep them straight right now. But anyway, their potential is incredible, resemble Team Liquid and Queso. Will they realize their potential? My season projection for them is 3rd to 8th, making majors seems likely. And the reason that I say making majors seems likely is simply because of the amount of talent that's on their team. You gotta think they made top 4 last season, just how good they are, flat out how good they are. Mechanically, they are extremely good. If their decision making is good, there really is no reason for them to not make every single major. And that's my opinion, but we'll see. It's all gonna depend on if they put it together or not, but I think that the potential is there, more so than the rest of the teams behind them, to make majors as long as they play how they should. All right, guys, next up at number 3, I have another one that can potentially be argued. It just depends. There's so many teams that can just be interchanged from anywhere really from 3 back to like 8, arguably, but it just depends. It'll depend on how teams put it together, but I'm just going off of raw potential really for this 4th team that I have here, SSG, and then this next team, Complexity. We have CRR, Diaz, and Razebull. My main reasoning, very high ceiling. Diaz should be dangerous in 3s this season. They performed well in NA the last time they were here. CRR and Razebull are a proven duo. Diaz with some experience should mean great things for them. Season projection 3rd to 5th. Making majors seems likely. I just don't see a world where they don't make majors. I don't know why. I know at the end of last season they didn't look that great after they picked up Diaz and Sam to finish the season, but I just think Diaz has had so much time to play 3s against good teams. He's scrimming really good teams right now. You got to think about that too. I would assume by now Diaz is going to have it figured out a lot more in 3s. And with just the raw talent that's on this team, how do they not make top 4 in NA? Like, just being honest, they should make top 4 in NA. The talent's there. It's just like SSG. Are they going to put it together? We don't know yet. All right, next up at number 2, we're getting into the teams that are like pretty obvious, and also I think we can call them major locks, but we'll see. Number 2, the Ultimates. This team actually just got signed yesterday to the Ultimates, I believe. I don't know if it's been announced by the players yet, but Achilles and Shift tweeted that yesterday and said that they are going to be signed to the Ultimates, so we can assume that that's going to happen. So the Ultimates is Chronic, First Killer, and LJ. The main reasoning, the amount of talent on this team is absurd, leading to incredible potential. They beat NRG in the RLCS offseason open, could potentially prove themselves to be the best team in NA. They can win majors. Season projection 1st to 2nd, they are a major lock. I think there's no world where I can see this team missing a major in NA. I just don't think it's even possible. And as you heard, I said that I think they can win majors, and that's because Chronic has won a major before. First Killer and LJ have both performed very well at majors before. I think that this team altogether, if they can figure out a really good play style, they can win majors. And I don't even think that that can really be disputed. I think that that is just a fact that they can win majors. The potential's there. I think this team has a higher ceiling than when it was Chronic, First Killer, and Appjack. I think that LJ is honestly just a better overall player than Appjack, which is insane to say because Appjack is arguably one of the best players in the world. But LJ can be argued to be a top like 5 or 10 player in the world at times. Because of that, it's really hard for me to say that they don't have a higher ceiling than when it was Chronic, First Killer, and Appjack. Either way, that Chronic, First Killer, and Appjack team did, when they were playing at high levels, have a chance to win majors. So I think that Chronic, First Killer, and LJ can definitely win majors. And if you can beat NRG in any form like they already did in the off-season open, and I know that that's just an off-season tournament, but if you can, and that was only like a week ago or maybe 2 now, it's pretty close to the season. You would assume if they can beat NRG, they can probably beat anybody. And also, I think that these 3 players, Chronic, First Killer, and LJ, and the 3 players that I have on the next team at number 1 are the 6 best players in NA, and I really don't even think it can be argued. But anyway, number 1, NRG Esports. This one was probably a tough guess for you guys. You guys probably wouldn't have guessed that I'd have them at number 1. But anyway, my main reasoning, this really does not need to be explained. They made every single grand final in RLCS last season. They will be one of the best teams in the world all season. That's like almost a guarantee. #1 NA team until proven otherwise. They can win majors. Season projection, 1st to 2nd major lock, no question. This team will be at every single major, and they will be doing damage at every single major, and they will probably win one of the majors. They're on another level. I'm honestly really looking forward to seeing NRG and the Ultimates play in RLCS this season. It should honestly be a really good rivalry. And I think that it's going to be very competitive too. I think that the Ultimates are going to be a lot more surprising and good than people think, which obviously everybody's projecting them to be a top 2 team in NA, but I can see them being arguably just as good as NRG. It'll just depend. It'll depend on a lot of things. Obviously, this is all just hypothetical stuff here, but who knows? It's a no-brainer to have NRG at #1. They are my #1 team heading into the 2025 RLCS season in NA. And then here is my good old thanks for watching screen, I think. Is that what this is? There we go. I even have the animations on it. I forgot. Very cool. But yeah, guys, that pretty much does it for my NA RLCS power rankings going into the 2025 season. And be sure to let me know down in the comments if you agree with my power rankings, where you would have teams, if there's teams you would have in that I didn't have in the top 16, and who you think will make majors. I'm very interested to know who you guys think will be making majors from NA this season. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.